everybody. I am Jack Hinkle. Steve is out teaching some clarinets or something with sectionals, whatever. So I am hosting it today, and we are here in a new setting. This is actually my office. This is what my office looks like. And in my office today is a guest we have not had on the show yet. This is from Elkhart, Indiana. Well, technically Goshen. I think you had a Goshen address.
Yeah,
from Goshen, Indiana, Mrs. Nicole Knouse. Woo!
Hi.
Yes. Welcome to Chops, Nikki.
Thanks.
Welcome. Nikki has been at Concord for quite some time, and so this is my office. Her office is like right there. Like we share a wall, which is quite convenient when we need to talk to each other.
It really is, because I just like shout your name and you're like, yo.
It's we don't even have to get up.
No.
It's great. I mean,
great.
I imagine it's still you in there. It could be someone else if I'm talking to you. But
That's true.
Nikki is a teacher at Concord and an assistant band director, and has been here. This is like year 3 for you, right?
This is year 3. Wow.
That's kind of crazy
It
that
is
you've been
kind of
here
crazy.
that long.
Yeah.
And was a Concord alum and had taught a couple years at a local school, and then came over here for the last couple of years and has taught here, primarily a woodwind teaching person, with hints of choir.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Recently. And Nikki and I team teach one of the concert bands here, and that's actually the first time that you and I have team taught in a concert band setting. And you've been shouted out on this podcast before, so I think it's good that the listeners get to like hear you and put a face to the name. So Nikki, can you kind of give us the bio of Nicole Knouse from maybe like your earlier days here as a kid in the community, and then how you ended up coming back?
Yeah. So like Jack said, I grew up in the Concord community. I went to Oxbow, and then filtered all the way through to Concord High School. And then afterwards, I went to Indiana Wesleyan for music education.
Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats, woo. And then primarily after that, like I said, I taught 2 years as a 5th and 6th grade general music teacher, which was definitely really interesting, because my first year teaching was 2020. And I remember in the job interview, they said, so if you get the job, just so you know, the kids can't sing because of COVID. I said, okay, cool. And they're like, oh, and by the way, they can't play instruments because they can't touch things. I said, okay, cooler. So what are they going to do? And they're like, well, that's your job now. So
you're the graduating class of 2020 in college.
Yeah, I actually graduated at my dining room table. Laptop was open.
I love this story.
My professors for student teaching, did you have to do like a defense, or everybody calls it something different? But it's like your portfolio from student teaching.
We had to do that.
Yeah, so you present it. I presented it on Zoom. One of my professors actually just got a new puppy, and so it was like barking the whole time. It was super cute though. And then it was done, and they said, congratulations, your undergrad is done.
COVID memories. Did you wear the cap and gown at your dining table?
No, because that was we had to like look professional, and I didn't have it yet. So yeah, I think, and honestly, I think we graduated like a month early because we didn't have anything.
School ended in March.
School ended, and they're like, yeah, you can't really finish your portfolio, can you? We're like, no, not really. So
your first job, they're like, you're gonna teach music, but you can't sing and you can't touch instruments.
Yes. So I had to get really creative. Shout out to Dunkin' Donuts, because Dunkin' Donuts has 5-gallon buckets that they get their icing in like every week or something. And if you go to the right Dunkin' Donuts, you can ask for those buckets and they will give them to you for free. And I started my own bucket drumming because I could sanitize those instruments. And so that's what we did a lot.
All right. That's like, well, for one, I imagine you know somebody close to you who frequents Dunkin' quite often.
I do,
so I think that would help. But two, I think that's a good example of like Nikki in action. Like she'll figure out a way to make it work, and we'll make it work even if there's 7,000 hoops you have to jump through. Like you'll find the way.
I try.
So 2 years teaching. No, 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Teaching general music, and then
job opened up at Concord. I got married that summer, and then came here and have loved it ever since.
Married and new job in the same summer. That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And a move.
And
right?
a move. Yeah, and a move.
Jeez.
So
oh boy.
that June was crazy.
That I could imagine. And so Nikki's been here, and your job, we kind of hinted, is mostly band, little choir, but it's evolved a little bit over your 3 years. Like there's slight changes, but not much.
Yeah.
So can you kind of talk about your day-to-day job here at Concord Schools?
Yeah, so in the morning, that's been the most consistent part of my day, but I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade woodwinds at the junior high. And then when we combine for full band, I've been in both of the role of the assistant and kind of hanging out and pulling out kids. And then this year, most recently, I've been able to take over 7th grade band. So that's what my mornings usually look like. And then I come over to the high school, and high school is anywhere from marching band to some concert band, some also known as like symphonic band, and also some choir this year, which was a lot of fun.
Nikki got to work with the it's not a show choir group as most high schools would have. We have like an a cappella group called the Concord Singers, and Nikki had some time kind of assisting that and doing some sectional pullouts. And you seem to really enjoy that, like when that was happening.
Yeah, I really got a nice opportunity in college for choir. Our choir did a lot of tours, and it was just an overall like excellent group. And so I really enjoyed that. So getting the opportunity to work with these Concord Singers kind of brought that back.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a fun change for your schedule too. So Nikki does that, and as we said too, like she teaches at the junior high with Mr. Golden, and Brian Golden has been on this show before. So Nikki and Brian are kind of like together basically the entire day, except for when you teach with me.
Yeah, I think this year is the first time that I have not taught a class with Brian.
That's fascinating.
Like a band class.
Because you guys are like almost attached at the hip at the junior high.
Yes.
And then here kind of similar. And then with those two is Mr. Allman, who is our percussion director that works there at the junior high. So they do mornings, travel to the high school, and then teach the afternoon at the high school. We're kind of an odd, maybe not odd, but I would say abnormal kind of setting to have full-time band staff that travel between both buildings all the time.
Yes.
Where some buildings may have just full junior high staff and full high school staff. So that's Nikki's day, but man, if you tried to find Nikki after school, you're probably going to be out of luck because she is quite busy right now. Quite busy. She's got the binder in front of us.
Yes, I do have the binder.
She's back. So at 5 p.m., Nikki, where are you going to be?
I am actually going to be underneath the ground level, a.k.a. in the pit. For our musical. I'm the director of the pit orchestra, and right now we are ramping up for our performance of Guys and Dolls in about 2 weeks, actually.
Oh my gosh, it's only 2 weeks away.
Actually,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be the one to say that.
No, that's okay. Wait, today's
the 25th?
26th. Okay, just strike that. A week from tomorrow.
Opening night.
It's opening
Guys and
night.
Dolls. There you go.
Yeah.
Tickets for sale right now. ConcordMusic.com. Ludus.Concord something. Search Ludus and Concord Music. You'll find it.
Yep.
So Nikki was invited to be a part of CHOPS because Nikki is one of the most organized and like detail-oriented people. And if you tell Nikki to do something, it's probably already done, and you were the one that made a mistake and you didn't realize it. But Nikki's a sticky note kind of person. And sometimes if I actually like get up from my desk and go talk to you as opposed to like talk to you through the wall, I'll see like you've got sticky notes everywhere, like computer screen.
Yeah. So, okay, side note.
Yeah.
So my husband got me a pack of sticky notes for Christmas 2 years ago. There were 14 packages of sticky notes. I don't want to tell you if I've gone through them all, but I'll let
the answer to that.
Yeah.
14. Are you talking like 14 pads like these guys?
Yeah.
Okay, when you said 14 packages, I'm imagining like the Sam's Club style, like bulk, and there's 14, and like,
Fair enough.
You have a problem.
No.
So that's how you roll. And Nikki is not like a tech person. Like Steve talks about me being like all iPad, and I do everything on my iPad with my music and my homework and everything. But you are pretty anti-screen.
I just really like the feeling of pencil and paper and just the physical, like checking something off of a list. I just need that cathartic to go.
No, I'm with you. I understand that feeling. And there are many times that my devices are close to being dead when I'm teaching, and it does get scary. But that's like Nikki's jam, is like being very organized. And I know you have to-do lists because I've seen them.
Yes.
I've seen them like floating around.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you probably are a type of person that like if you need to do something, you write it down.
Yes. Yeah, I've ever since I think even middle school, I've had a planner, and it is just a constant. Like in high school, it was one column was my schoolwork stuff and not necessarily life stuff, because you're in high school, you don't really have outside life stuff. But then now I have kind of school column and then just get her done stuff of like, do I need to call a furnace person or do I need to pay a mortgage, something like that.
Nikki's a homeowner.
I am a homeowner.
She's a homeowner
yeah.
now. Wow, yeah. That life is different.
Yeah. That column has significantly gotten bigger the more that you own a home, as I think you know. So, but that's okay.
Yes, it has gotten bigger. That's real. So there's kind of two things about Nikki right now that are kind of coming together, and we can kind of see it work. But very organized, but also is the director of the musical, or the pit of the musical, and you can see this binder if you're watching. Can you pull that thing out here?
Yeah, sure.
So, okay, we'll put this on a reel so you can see it. So, Nick, they're doing Guys and Dolls this year, and there's a team of like what, 6 adults? For
overall directors, yeah, I would say 6, 7, something like that.
You got like the main director of the musical, like 2 assistants for the actual like acting.
I would even put that at 3. I think we have 3 this year.
3 assistants, and then there's a choir director, Mr. Bennett, who does the vocal part, and then Mrs. Knouse, Nikki, who does all the instrumental part.
And Mr. Preheim for our tech.
And Mr. Preheim and his entire team for tech. So they've all been going 5 to 8 this week, doing tech rehearsals and getting everybody on stage. So if Nikki's like flipping through this, like you can see like the amount of music. Hey, look, a sticky note. You can see the amount of music that needs to go through. And I'm just looking at this. It looks like there's 19 scenes.
So it's kind of a little different depending on who you talk to. So for us, it goes by musical numbers. If you go by scenes, it's different.
Oh.
So
because we got some like 7, 7A, 7B. I see.
And so like if you look in the actor's book, it'll say like Act 1, Scene 1.
Yeah.
For us, Scene 1 takes us all the way through number 5 in our book.
Oh boy.
So then we have to start speaking different languages because they've got scenes, we've got numbers, and then it even gets crazier when you get to like the lighting and sound because they go by like cues. So it gets a little wild, but yeah. So for us, Act 1 is about 19 numbers long, and then the back half has another about 13. 13, 14.
So 33 total.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's another sticky note.
And so many of you listeners, like, you understand what a musical is and how that works. So how many students are in your pit?
I think this year we have 17. The pit is usually somewhere around 16 to 20 people. With two adults are playing for the piano part.
Yes.
So our choir accompanist, Mrs. Payton, and then Mrs. Hartman, who used to be choir director here, and then also accompanies. So. And
there are, as you said, like 30 plus pieces of music to learn, and you've got some pretty strong kids in that pit. Like strong musicians. Yes.
The crazy part about musicals is that there is no high school version. What we are playing is the Broadway stuff. There was no adaptation. I mean, this is I play professional trumpet for a living. Here you go.
And you've been rehearsing since
January, the first day of school that we came back from Christmas break. Boom, pit rehearsal started.
1.
Yeah, day 1. We hit the ground running hard.
Wow. So there's kind of the preseason, right, for musicals where the directors talk and pick a musical. And I remember like coming back, walking in with you and Mr. Gold and Mr. Peterson, and you're like, what are you guys thinking? And you kind of talk to us about that. And then after they select it, like, you have to wait to get the book. Like, you have to order it, right?
Yep.
And then you start your planning process and your rehearsal process, and then we get the final product next week. So I wanted to have Nikki on just so she could kind of talk about like what the overall game plan looks like from day 1, actually really day 0, like beforehand, all the way to the final curtain at the end of the show. And like, obviously there's music going on, there's rehearsal involved, but like you're still a teacher and you're a facilitator at this point. So how you organize like big picture, how you organize little picture, and just what that looks like for managing such a big project.
Yeah. So, like you said, the team of directors kind of come together and we talk about what are our overall like non-negotiables. What are we looking for in different musicals? What are our kids that we have now? What are their strengths? And so then we pick it from there. And once that part is done, then we kind of can go our separate ways. So that's when I can kind of take over and kind of get this grand view of, okay, what's first the instrumentation? I mean, that's kind of thing one is, do I have the kids? How many do I need? So like for this one, I had a pretty standard one. So it's 5 reed books, which I get to that in a moment. And then we have some trumpets, horn, trombone, strings, and percussion.
She just pulled out like a giant spreadsheet at size 8 font. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So your spreadsheet, she's got color coded.
Yeah.
So you're organizing that by song and by kid?
Yes. So like I said, so they're professional musicians. And so that means in woodwind land that I can play anything from piccolo to contrabass, clarinet, or bassoon. And I have to play everything in between. Mm-hmm. Well, as a high school student, we don't get the opportunity to teach them flute, clarinet, saxophone, all of the above. Pick one, maybe 2. And so I get to go through the book. So like this year, read 1 just happens to be piccolo, flute, clarinet, and alto saxophone. We don't have one student to play all of those. So then I kind of get creative and I say, okay, well, we have a student who can play flute and alto, and I have a student who can play clarinet and alto. And so then I kind of start weaving together the different books. So, okay, so this spreadsheet is kind of wild. So the color coding is the book. And then, like, so you can see, okay, so like book 4 is this one in blue. And so I split it up kind of based on kid and instrument. So that way the flute part is over here, the clarinet and tenor over here, and bassoon's kind of over here. And so we group them into, okay, what can people actually play and or transpose? And then what book goes to what kid?
So right there is at least like an hour sunk, right? Like you probably had to spend at least if not many hours.
Oh yeah, I think
like trying to get through that.
Yeah.
So the preseason, we're still in preseason, folks, and the preseason right now is already like, I'm gonna hold this up.
Go ahead.
I don't even know if that's like visual there that you can see what's going on, but that's like the kind of organization that I would say it takes for the kids to have a good run.
People won't notice if you do your job well planning. People notice when you don't do a good job planning.
What do you mean by that? I think
So
I'm with you.
If you plan and everything runs smoothly, that's what people expect, right? If you run into, I don't know, like a party or say the airport, you expect things to run really smooth. Everybody's on time. Everybody knows what their job is. You don't notice in the background if people didn't do their job because everything ran smoothly. You do notice if it isn't planned, if a flight got delayed, if someone didn't bring cupcakes to little Jimmy's birthday party,
Poor Jimmy.
and then it's really obvious. So people,
Wow. So that all takes place ahead of time so that the rehearsals can be used, that time can be used wisely.
Yes.
Or else you would be losing rehearsal time trying to figure out who needs to be on which book.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's time you don't have to lose.
No.
Wow. And there are some people that would just like, I don't want to say wing it, like that's a bad way, but maybe like don't understand like the depth of preparation that it takes to have a successful run.
Yeah.
So now that's kind of preseason. Now can you talk about how you do your rehearsals? Because you have 33 numbers that you have to, I don't want to say master because I know it's like Pitt musical, right? It's not ISMA.
Right.
But you got 33 tunes you got to sound like good on.
Yes.
So how do you block out those times? Like what does that look like for you?
So the month of January is just pit rehearsal. So it's only the people in the pit. We don't combine with the singers. And the month of January, my goal is to get through every single thing on here twice. And we rehearse for about an hour a day. So I try to get through about 4 to 5 numbers per rehearsal.
Wow. That's a lot of music.
That is a lot of music.
And pit music's like easy, right? Like it's all this.
Yeah, it's just, quarters and halves.
It's all beginning band stuff. No, pit music's crazy. That's probably harder than what we're playing in band. And we see those kids way much more, right?
There was, it definitely tests my abilities as well. There was 2 years ago, I think we did have to like stop rehearsal and just diagram it out of the one-anda, andy-andas. It was wild.
So if you guys listen to music, right? Everyone listens to music. If you're listening to normal music, you press start and it plays and then it stops, right? If you're directing a pit, you have to manage the 20 humans in front of you and make sure that they're playing together. But there are also people on stage.
Yes.
And the people on stage are, dare I say, the more important ones because you see them. I shouldn't say more important because that's not true. There's no show without the pit. But you guys aren't visible.
We are not visible.
They just expect it to be like a soundtrack that it can just roll along with it.
Yes.
But you're still on the hook for what happens above you.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's stuff in your music that says like, wait for this cue, wait for this line.
Yes.
Go here.
Yeah.
So you're juggling music, but you're also juggling English, like English directions. And can you talk too about like the amount of musical changes that happen in like key, time, temp, all that stuff? Like, what does that look like?
This music sometimes gets so crazy we have one tempo and then abruptly changes tempo, it changes key, it changes meter, all on a dime, and we just have to be ready to roll with it. And it's really, when we get into the pit, and so we're working with the actors and actresses, they've been listening to recordings, which is good because they can't always play with us.
Good.
But then it gets interesting because they're going with what they know and we're going with what we know, and putting those two worlds together sometimes does not always go as planned.
Yes.
And so we make adjustments. So I have a lot of times where we as the pit will kind of just add a note here or there, or we will just, fake a fermata and we'll wait for the singer to keep on going. Or
I'm sure there's a lot of like winks or nods, or like you're like aggressively mouthing stuff to the kids, like, no, go here. Like all the time.
Absolutely. Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Fascinating.
I have a green camping light that I have as my baton.
It's like a mini lightsaber.
It looks like a mini lightsaber. Yeah. But the first time I ever was in the pit, I used a baton. And I couldn't even see my own music. I was like, there's no way the kids can actually see what's going on. So I went to Meijer and I bought a 8-inch green glowing lightsaber.
Beautiful.
And so then it's great for the kids in the pit because they just look for the glow. But then it's really nice for the actors because it's so dark, they can't see anything. All they have to do is focus for the little green light, and then they say, oh, hey, look, there I sing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you've done this. This is your third musical season, and I'm imagining you have found some things that really work well by year 2 or by year 3 that you like maybe didn't know year 1.
Yes.
So like, what are some of those things, like tricks of the trade, that you've learned about musical?
Small things of use highlighters on their music instead of pencils, which is kind of crazy. In the band world, we always say, bring a pencil to class. But when you're in the pit, everything is dark. And so the pencils don't show up. So I have a bag of highlighters that I give if the kids need them.
Nice.
So that's like a little tip or a trick of the trade. Just different things of where you're seated in the pit. And we have these things called monitors, and I have one right next to my ear so that way I can hear the kids singing. And so then the pit can kind of hear. And so making sure that there's certain kids strategically by certain monitors.
And monitor is just a fancy word of speaker.
Speaker, yeah.
So they get live feed from the sound on stage. Okay. Nice. I mean, I just have to imagine that's so much going on, and it's a moving target just constantly.
Yes.
Like you're never going to have the same show twice.
No.
That is fascinating. So right now you're about a week out. So I think earlier this week you said you kind of ran Act 1, like on rehearsal.
Yeah.
And then did you do Act 2 yesterday?
Yeah, we did most of Act 2 yesterday. We're going to finish it up today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more rehearsal tomorrow.
Yes.
You guys don't do Fridays?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's tomorrow going to look like?
Tomorrow's goal is to start at the top and go to the end and not stop.
So like the first full run.
First full run, yeah.
Okay. And then the first couple of those you do, I imagine there's quite a few things that need to be ironed out transitionally and linely.
Yes. That's kind of what we've been doing. That's why we do that like Act 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go through it, and then if there needs to be stuff cleaned up, we'll go back and do it.
Okay.
And so we've done those for Act 1, and then today's goal is Act 2. So tomorrow is really the start of put the big chunk together and get those reps in.
Cool.
So
now I know a lot of your pit kids, and they're like really nice kids and fun kids to hang out with and be around. This is more of like a people management question, but there's like a lot of downtime.
Yes.
In the rehearsals, at least, maybe not always in the show, but if something goes a little crazy on stage with the chorus or something, they need something to do.
Right.
But you can't play.
Right.
Because they're going.
Yeah.
What's that vibe like if the kids are just like hanging?
They're really self-sufficient and
Great.
chill. Sometimes we'll do little things of while they're up top, and we'll do a little silent airplay type thing of, okay, can I at least hear what you're supposed to be doing through your air? But honestly, those kids are some of the busiest kids in the school.
Yeah.
And I know that they have a lot to do. So honestly, sometimes it just looks like them working on homework. I have right now. I felt so bad. One of my trumpet players last night, I think her calculus book fell to the ground like twice. And she goes, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "I get it. You got to do what you got to do."
Better than a harmon mute.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I've heard too, like, okay, my office has a window. I'm really bougie, except the window just goes to the band room. It's not bougie. But right there is the band room if you're watching the video, and that's where the pit rehearses like during most of the season until you go actually on stage.
Right.
And I'm usually up here working as they're getting going, and there's like, well, it's a lot of music and it's a lot of random music, but there's also like a lot of like sounds like laughter and like inside jokes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It sounds like you like are pretty I shouldn't say it sounds like, because I know who you are, but like I would imagine you're pretty intentional about like creating some sort of culture.
Yes.
With the pit kids and like what that looks like. So there's not only like buy-in, but like there's a vibe. Like, can you talk about what that looks like?
Absolutely. I try to get the top players for every instrument, and I know that full well. These kids have jobs. These kids have after-school academic clubs. Some of them have sports. Some, you name it. I know that they have that. But because of that, they have shown us that they have really good time management skills because they're doing all these things and they're still the top dogs of their instrument. Yeah. And so I say, absolutely, I want you because I know that you're going to commit to this music. I know that it's going to be solid, come showtime.
That is great. And I know your kids, and I know that they probably are talking to you and saying, "Hey, I have a conflict. I have this tonight.
Yes.
I have this tonight." And I'm sure that you and your predecessor, I think, kind of said the same thing. Like, we'll work with you because we know what you can do.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. So now, like, what are you, like, as you're on your final, sorry, I'm not trying to freak you out. You're on your final week. What are some things, like, I'm not necessarily musically, because like you can talk about, cleaning stuff forever.
Right.
But like, what are some things that you're still hoping to get? Maybe like big picture show stuff or like people stuff in the next week that you're trying to accomplish in the pit.
Honestly, a lot of the tech week is confidence building. It's not even cleaning or even, work on this transition. It is just, hey, you got this part, play out, or this is what we've worked on and you can do this, even though we're in a different environment.
I imagine that is pretty different from playing the music in the band room and then moving to the pit.
Yes. It's a pretty surreal feeling when other people are relying on you. Like the
Yes.
actors and the actresses are now waiting for us to give them the cue, or they're getting ready to have their big moment and being supported by our big moment.
Oh, yes. And all of that stuff, you kind of have one shot to mess it up, and then you got to fix it forever. Right?
Yes.
And I think that's like got to be a really good thing for our kids to experience.
Yes.
Because you band directors out there, you know what it feels like when you're correcting the same mistake day in, day out. There ain't no time for that in a pit.
There's
Like,
no
it's gotta
do it
be
again.
right. You just got to go.
Yeah.
And teaching kids the value of that, I have to imagine is so worthwhile.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So worthwhile. Because when they come back in to their curricular classes, whether that's band, choir, or orchestra, then they kind of know how to fail, but then immediately succeed.
Right.
Which some kids haven't learned how to immediately succeed after that yet.
Correct. And I think that even transfers into, eventually their workplace of,
Yeah.
you make a mistake, it's understandable, but some of them have big jobs and you can't make a mistake. So you've got to make sure that, yes, I'm confident, I am good at what I'm doing, so I'm going to do it.
Yes. And Pitt it's a one to a part lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
You're not in concert band with like 6 other trumpets with you. Like it's you.
Right.
It's you. And giving kids that opportunity is big too. So you have a show Thursday, Friday. Do you still do the Saturday?
No, we do Sunday.
Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Okay. And that probably means that you're doing dress rehearsals Monday, Tuesday next week.
Monday, Tuesday.
Wednesday, parent night.
Wednesday, parent night. Yep. And then Thursday, run and gun.
Oh, man. I'm sure the kids are really excited for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And the directors are too. Like, you guys want to put out your product.
Yeah.
And then you want to go sleep a lot. Like, that's real. If only there was actually rest for Nikki after March. Is March 8th? Is that the last show date? March 9th?
9th. I think the 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you come back and it's what, ISMA for junior high?
It's junior high
right
ISMA.
away?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then spring Brit. We're going on a band trip.
Yeah.
And then ISMA at the high school.
Yeah.
And then Pops, followed by Jazz Cafe, followed by band festivals in there somewhere. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
And beginning band.
And beginning band tour.
Yeah.
Oh, and the open house for new instruments.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. It's a grand old time to be a Minuteman these days.
It is.
That's it. Okay, so that's like your life. That's like your life right now. That is real. And I hope that you listeners could kind of get like a feel for what it's like to work with 20 musicians, and probably only like maybe 16 of which you already knew. 15?
Yeah.
There's some orchestra kids that go in there and you're like, hi, what's your name? I'm Mrs. Knouse.
Yes. Right? Yeah. It's nice to keep, like, I have a couple that have been returners, but I do have a lot of new faces this year. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and then that means they're coming back next year.
Yes.
Theoretically, right?
Yes. They are not seniors. So whoop, whoop.
Yes. Do you have any kids that start out in Pitt and then go to the stage? Like they join? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But probably not as many the other way around.
Not as many the other way around. And really not as many Pit to stage.
Okay.
But it is interesting. They of the like, I don't know, not regret or anything, but they're like, oh man, I really miss being in Pit.
You're like, you're right, come back.
Like, come on. You're like, you're not in the scene, right? Come down.
Grab the violin.
Yeah.
We do have a large population of students who are in an instrumental ensemble and a vocal ensemble at the high school. So when it comes to musical, it is kind of tough to get the kids, because they're all splitting, and we've kind of run into that before, and it's a good problem that a lot of our kids like to do choir, but they also like to do band and orchestra. So we have a lot of kids double dipping, which is kind of fun for the program. So is that Pit in a nutshell?
Pretty much.
Is there anything we're missing? Do you do like a lot of listening to Guys and Dolls?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I just have to imagine, like, when you get the score, you're kind of on like AirPod lockdown.
Yeah. And really from show to show, it's so vastly different. So like Guys and Dolls is an older show, and so I don't have tempos. There is no tempo written here.
Just wing it.
It's just a word usually. Like, yeah, that like there's nothing. There's nothing.
There's nothing on that. I'm looking for it. Usually they'll say like swiftly. Or,
yeah.
Hey, it says faster.
It says say faster.
Faster than what?
Okay,
what else? You got anything else?
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Sometimes.
Oh, so many scribbles, so many X's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love the cuts. Oh, hey, it says a la tango.
A la tango, yes.
That's a tempo.
That's a tempo. Another one is Cafe Cubana Shango.
What's a shango?
A shuffle tango?
That's not real.
No.
Did they make that up?
Absolutely.
That's shuffle tango?
Yes.
It's a shango?
There are so many things that are just
tuffle.
made up in pit books.
Fascinating.
Especially the newer ones that you get.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah, the first year was a very new musical, and oh my gosh, I think I just locked myself in my office for hours just to try and figure out, okay, what does this even sound like?
Was that Failure?
No, that was Addams Family.
Oh, Addams Family.
Addams Family.
Oh, that was fun.
Yes, it was really cool music, really fun, but there were a lot of made up things. I think one of our play like a type thing or a descriptor was play like you're getting ripped apart, and that's like
in the score.
Yeah, that was literally
ripped apart.
Yeah, that was like literally in the kids' music. Yeah, I think we got to that part, and I just had hands go up, and I was like, "What is happening?" And they're like, what does this mean?
I've never been ripped apart.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. Composers have too much fun these days. I guess that's what that means.
Yeah.
It's like, this will make it past editing, right? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Oh, that's a lot of notes for. Oh, it's saying left hand here. Sorry, I just saw like a piano chord with like 7 notes. Like, you only got 10 fingers. Yeah. Wow. So that's Life in the Pit. Mm-hmm. Life in the Pit. Maybe that's the title of the episode. Life in the Pit. With Nicole Knouse. Okay. Or what did you say? Where are you going to be? I'm going to be underground level. Below ground level.
Below ground level. Yeah.
In the crypt.
Yes. Nice. Just don't say in the pits, because that sounds a little weird.
Fair enough. She's in the pit. So that's her life. So if you're local and you want something to do Thursday, Friday, Sunday of next week, well, it'll be this week by the time this episode comes out. Yes. That's happening right now. That's it. So Nikki's 3rd year doing pit orchestra, and then I imagine you'll want to continue doing it. You like it, right?
Oh, I love it.
She wouldn't say she doesn't like it on the microphone. No, she does love it. And your predecessor told you that it's like it was his favorite thing that he got to do here, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What's the reward of it? What makes you come back?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's like a thrill of just being, because I mean, I'm not okay, I'm going to go off script a little bit here, okay? No one say this to anybody else. I'm kind of running the show. Like once the curtain goes up, I know, the actors are doing what they're doing, but like the pit's running the show.
Because the actors can't go on until the musicians
go on. Until we go on. So it's just kind of that thrill of like, we're doing the whole thing.
And she looks really cool. She's wearing a headset and she's holding that little mini lightsaber.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
That's kind of a vibe. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in charge, but that means that you're like on for like 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't drop, like, right? Except at the intermission maybe, but
right. Yeah.
You got to make sure you're waiting for each line for your next cue, and wow. So you're vibing with it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, if any of you conductors out there are looking for another gig to do at your school, you heard it here first. Pit's the way to go.
It is. Buy yourself a camping light.
Where'd you get yours, Meyer?
I got mine at Meyer. You probably can get them at Walmart too.
I remember my pit orchestra conductor, Mrs. Braden, I think she had a purple one.
Does she have a purple one?
Something like that. Yeah, those were fun. I never understood why they did that, but it totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. You can see it. It's not like a baton. Yeah, those are good times. And they, Nikki, along with Scott Preheim, our technical director, and Jimmy Bennett, the choir director, we all eat lunch together, and they've had some good stories of rehearsal moments that went sideways this week, as they all, I'm sure, end up doing the first week you're full.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And moral of the story, hot mics are real.
Hot mics are real, and don't believe everything that's written in your book or their book, because it might not line up.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
This is good. I've learned a lot about how to run a pit orchestra if I ever have to do that. And Mrs. Knouse is, again, one of the teachers at the high school and assistant band director at junior high and high school, and is a big part of the music program here. And we share a wall. We're right next to each other in the office space. So, yes, thank you for being on here. And if you're liking what you hear, please make sure that you follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and follow us on YouTube, and find us on Instagram and TikTok at @chops_podcast. I think that's what we got. All right. For Jack Hinkle
and Nikki Knouse,
we're out of here.